Hey there. Did you know so many kids are being suspended or expelled from school and ending up in the prison system, and that there's a name for it? It's called the school to prison pipeline, and it's flowing just fine. Do you know that our education system is so outdated that students are dropping out by the literal thousands every day? Did you know that illiteracy rates are skyrocketing to the point where more than 1 in 10 adults cannot read or write well enough to complete a job application? Do you know what all this is costing those kids? More importantly, do you know what all this is costing you? Stay tuned to learn the hard truths about education and engagement in this day and age, and what we at Reading with a Rapper are doing to fix them.
Hi everybody, I'm Rodney Alexander and welcome to the Teacher's Lounge where the conversation starts to change. Let's start with Kevin. What is it that you do? What do you do?
Man, that's a great question. First and foremost, I am a father and a husband. That is my daily role. And I had to really evolve into that because there's a stereotype that's associated with me and what I do, which is I created Cool Dad as a nonprofit organization that is to aid and uplift all men of color that are striving to build a better world for their children. But to simplify that was I create equitable spaces for fathers. We spoke a lot on things that today are important, but even when I go into a room and I say I'm a leader of an organization like Cool Dad, they immediately associate me with children. And they, oh, okay, so what are you doing with the kids? And, and I'm like, no, we are here for the fathers. We are creating these spaces so that they can be seen, heard, and understood. And because of that, we're now empowering them to start taking back control of why they exist and allow them to continue doing what they've already been doing, being those leaders and those shepherds into their families and their community.
Man, that's hard to follow. That is hard to follow. But so, my real job, 8 to 5, the one that pays the light bills, allows me to work in a school district, a public school district, and I support leaders in an administration role. In that role, though, I am absolutely what I know is I have a responsibility to be a role model for those who see me every day. I also use that as an opportunity to tell the story of those students, those teachers, those leaders whose stories may not get told, right? So my job is to give them experiences in any way I can through my connections so that they can go wherever they want to go. And so that gives me a lot of the commas behind my title. I have a title, but I sometimes serve as the chaperone or whatever else I need. So I do that and really have been in education for all of my career. I'm a communicator by training, but that communication has led me into the field of education.
She got me my first job.
But I also wrote a book called Do You, and it's funny you say that. The book is really a result of me having a son and wanting him to have access to the world and be a king and be confident. And to do that, you have to have an example of somebody who's that. And so I had to figure out, how am I going to do me? Right? And not do you or you or figure out I'm not enough. And so I wrote this book really as a release to allow myself or give myself permission to be Shalia and no one else, to do you. And so that has really allowed me to have conversations with people like him, students, teachers, parents, to tell them they are enough and everything that they need is right inside of them already.
So I am a teacher. I also work for a nonprofit called Reading with the Rapper, where we bring culture to the classroom. Everything we've been talking about today, we made it our mission to make learning fun, make learning cool, bringing technology. So we are trying to be advocates for students and teachers.
Right.
So I have the pleasure every single day to educate, expose, and empower a community of elementary school scholars, pre-K through fifth grade, to let them know that the world is their oyster. There's nothing that they can't do. And their community does not determine how far they can go in life.
good.
So that is what I do on an everyday basis. I walk on that campus, I show love, I care, I lead with love. I am a compassionate educator who understands that although I need all of this, I have to hold everybody accountable so that it can happen for our 395 kids. So that's what I have the pleasure of doing every day. And I can't see myself doing anything else besides this piece or training somebody else how to do it also.
That's good. All right.
Oh,
What do you do? What are your interests? What's going on in that ninth grader world?
so I'm a student. I mean, I'm a student athlete, I guess you could say.
That's right.
I take track athletics, so that's fun. And then I do track training over the weekends. So, I mean, that's really been tough because at first it was definitely hard. I mean, I didn't really like it. I mean, I guess you could say. I mean, I liked the idea of it and I wanted to do it, but it wasn't anything I had experienced before because it's also a mental, physical
I can
sport.
imagine.
Right?
So I had to learn how to kind of be more not hard on myself, but be more determined, I guess. So I think that really helped.
That's great. That's great. Perfect. That's exactly what it is. It's a conversation about where education is. And that's why we have all these different people here, so we can get a different perspective of where we're going. So since we got that, let me go to the printer and see what the conversation for today is. Let me hold it up so y'all can see. It's the state of education. What is the state of education? So first, let's start from the bottom of it. What was education like for y'all growing up?
School for me was fun. It was social. It was about a place to meet new people, experience things. It was about learning, right? I mean, I can vividly remember learning and teachers who taught me something.
Exactly.
But I tell everyone school for me was fun. It was a social hour. I went to have a good time.
Yeah, I mean, growing up in Brooklyn, school was like the epicenter for everything, right? Preparing the night before, getting my fit together. No, seriously.
Like laid it out.
I knew exactly where I was gonna go and who needed to see that outfit, right? But from the education standpoint, I grew up in inner city, and seeing my teachers really kind of put their hands around the students there kind of stuck with me, and I think kind of helped frame who I am today as like a community leader, someone that's always leading with giving, because we didn't have a lot of resources, so we made do with what we had. So education for me was a lot different in the sense of like how I learned my thought process, right? It was really centered around community, and that was like my meeting ground. Like I had fun. I was looking forward to going there. I don't know if kids still do it, but I remember getting to school at 7 so I could be in a schoolyard hooping, doing as much as I could.
Exactly.
And then going to class. So I'm like, man, I must have been funky.
I was thinking that. I was just thinking that. You didn't smell good.
Right.
It's amazing how you say that, because school for me was a safe haven. It was a place where my friends were, teachers that actually cared about me and what was going to happen in my life. I was a nerd, so books. I love books. Name that book, all that kind of stuff. So that was just the place for me to just shine. If I didn't feel like I was adequate in any other place in my life, school, that was the place for me.
What about you, Darren?
School was fun. Like, I went to school, like everybody else was saying, to have a good time. I wanted to make new friends. I was super social. I got in trouble all the time for just talking too much. That was where I wanted to make friends and make myself.
Right.
I also found myself in school.
Okay. Now we got our perspective from Aria, who's a
In
freshman.
school, yeah.
She's in school. So we want to hear about what's school like for y'all today.
School is like definitely a different learning experience, I think. I mean, people still get there early, they go hoop, and then they smell, they don't wear deodorant. So it's just different. Yeah, I think it's just like a different experience.
Now that we got the foundation of how school is for everybody, let's get into it. Let's really just talk about it. What is the problem with education today? Because what I'm hearing is it was fun. And me being an educator right now, it looks like, yeah, the social aspect of it and being around your peers is still there, but the actual learning fun. What do you think are things that we're missing today from education?
I'm going to speak from the standpoint of a parent, right? I have a young daughter. She just started kindergarten. So we're now just entering into the public school system, right? For my child, who I know, she's a social butterfly. She's like someone that has a clear understanding of her identity now at 5 years old. So I'm like, she's a handful, so I need somebody to actually really, understands how to, connect with my child, right? Along with all the other children that are in the space as well.
But just building those relationships with scholars and pushing the engagement in the classroom, meeting them where they are, hitting their interests, and then allowing them to expand and run with that. Because it's so important for the scholars to be the ones engaging and facilitating the conversations that are going forth, because we just said school for us was fun. We went there for socialization and all of that, for me, safe haven, right? But our scholars come to us with so many different things that we have not even experienced and couldn't even imagine experiencing. So when they come and they have those conversations, they're going to bring out their slang. They're going to talk to each other and engage with each other in a way that we can't.
Right.
So it's important for them to lead the conversations.
So Aria, let me ask you this question. With her saying that, how important is relatability with your teachers or with your admin? How important is that?
I think a lot of people, like kids our age, I feel like they appreciate it more. I feel like teachers are more like, they try to do that. And when they do, kids tend to like it more because it just feels more relatable and you feel like more connected.
As an administrator, right, I think we're bogged down with the paperwork that comes along. I'm going to say paperwork, but hoops and the jargon and the kind of the bureaucracy of it. And those things make it challenging, right? Because you are reporting to someone who's reporting to someone who's it's going to end up on the news, right? What letter grade your school has or who's failing or whatever shows up in the news. But at the end of the day, I think school really still is fun. I think the kids, when you see them, they really are having a good time, and it really is a safe haven for so many people. The other day, our students performed, and I cried like a baby. I mean, I cried and cried and cried like I hadn't seen it before. And they were singing "It's a Wonderful World." And what I realized is it is. Because those students are going to be the next generation of leaders, and the world's really going to be okay. But we have to get out of the way. And I say we, I mean all of the people that are deciding what learning should look like and how you measure it and what books you have to read and if you read it correctly. Because at the end of the day, kids are resilient. Right? I mean, I feel like I have to make this Beyonce reference, but like, you can't tell me that Blue Ivy goes to school because she's busy, right? She's booked and busy performing. But she's going to be okay. So if she's going to be okay, why wouldn't Johnny, who is in the second grade, be okay if he can't read whatever book we're trying to put him? You have to give them things to help them prosper and grow. And I think if the challenge is, how do we overcome this box that we made education to create a world in which these students who are not going to live in a world we've ever experienced can thrive in.
And to speak on that as well, I feel like when I was growing up, I could read whatever. My mom's biggest thing is, did it have words in it? She can read it. If it has words, she can read it. Now we have book bans, and we're limiting access to what kids actually enjoy, and that kind of takes away the fun of education. I can't do a book club because I have to go through the book and see, is it talking about race? Is it talking about gender? Is it talking about, but these are things that our kids are dealing with, things they need to see, things they need to hear, things they're interested in. So it's not about basically what they're reading, it's what are they taking from the reading? How are they comprehending it? Can I teach them vocabulary? Sentence structure? Yes. So I think that's another part of education that's getting taken all over the place, is what they can read, what they do. We're teaching to a test now. So that changes the entire lesson plan if I have to now teach for my kids to pass this test instead of teaching what I know they're going to enjoy to do.
It's funny you talked about books. I remember my mom let me read Danielle Steele, and I don't know if you know, that's like
Hey, look.
trash. Like it's gossip books, right? But not only did we read it, but then we had conversations about it.
Yes.
She didn't say like, oh, they're having quote sex in it. Don't read that part. What'd you learn? Tell me about it.
That was my mom
So
as well.
I think you have to have conversation with people so that one, you understand, right? So I think life is about opportunity, access, and experience. All three of those things allow you to learn. And I think when you can do that and have somebody to talk about it with, then you can move the ball forward. So I think we have to challenge the box to figure out how to move it, right? How to move the students, because the world they will live in is nothing like we've ever experienced.
It sounds like it's a tug between actual academics and exploration. Like, where do we find that balance?
So
You wanna jump in?
right, educational philosophy is exposure is the great connector.
Ooh.
So expose our scholars to as much as possible, because when I think about my own personal children and the things that I want to expose them to, and trips and museums and library, just the different things in the world. And then I look at the scholars I serve.
That's right.
And many of them don't have those same experiences. So as educators, it's for us to create those global experiences, because we're living in a global environment, so that they can go outside of their 2-mile radius. They can go outside from where we are currently, past NRG, past the Galleria, to spring. I mean, they need to experience the whole gamut.
Yeah, you want them to imagine. You know, you want
them
that.
to
Yes.
imagine.
You know, I just think about that. I'm like, we keep creating these boxes, and what are we doing? We're limiting their imagination, right?
Can I hold
I
right
like
there?
that.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's what I think is missing from education at the core of it. We can teach academics all day, but are you getting these kids to think out the box, to imagine what is something you've never seen, but you have to gain that through an experience. You can't gain an imagination without having some kind of touch or a see or smell or touching some kind of type of sense of yours. So imagination is something that needs to be collaborated within the school somehow.
Did you have an imaginary friend?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's your imagination.
Me and
did
my
it.
best friend had like 2 imaginary friends.
Oh,
and they were best
they were
friends.
best friends.
So,
You were real. I love it. Y'all were really using y'all imagination. Y'all was on it.
That is
That's
it.
amazing.
So look, that's how you know we're gonna be all right. Like,
Yeah.
she's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, she did everything that we did. She can imagine,
Yeah.
but she's probably had to put it in a box.
And as a teacher, I think that's what was hardest for me to understand, that it's not that they don't get it. It's just that they have it. We just have to bring it out of them.
That's right.
We have to bring it out
I
of them.
tell my kids every day, like, you're limitless. There is not a limit to what you think you can do. If you think you can do it, you can do it. Like, just think about it. Focus on it. You can do it. You're limitless. Just do it.
All right, question for you, Arya, because this is about you. So majority of the questions are going to be towards you. What do you think a role of a teacher is?
A role of a teacher to I would want a role of a teacher to kind of guide us in life more than like schooling, I guess.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we have our phones now. We can just look up
Oh.
how to do
Everything.
I can just look up how to do something, but I can't look up how to like go pay my bill. I mean, I could, but
It's nothing
hearing
like-
that from somebody,
Man.
like my science teacher, he told us his bills, wrote them on the whiteboard, and like explained to us how much it costs to live.
To live.
And what did you think?
And it was shocking because he was like, that's not the life y'all want to live. He was like, this is a cheaper lifestyle than what y'all want to live. So what y'all want to live is completely different from what I live.
I love to hear that because that teacher's instilling something inside y'all, right? He's making you think beyond just what he's doing in front of you.
I'm guessing that's not in the curriculum.
It's
No, he he'll stop class.
He added that to it.
Can you say that when he did what?
Like, he would just stop class. Like, he was like, I mean, he would always tell us, like, I know science. It's not one of those subjects that you have to always know. Like, math and reading are kind of those ones. So he was like, I'm willing to stop my class to tell y'all my bills and what I do and
how to live.
Yeah.
That's a real teacher. See, that's
what she said.
That's the thing, that those are the goals that I'm hoping for, because you're gonna gravitate to that, right? And it'll allow you. And what that teacher is doing, from my perspective, is trying to break down the wall.
That's right.
Right? He's trying to break down the wall so that when you walk into his classroom, you're thinking about the world.
Right. Right.
Global experiences.
Exactly.
Real world experiences.
Okay, so this is a question I have about global experiences and things, and let's just boil it down. How could we apply that into our curriculums? Because it seems like that social aspect of just learning how to live, we don't get that. I had home economics. I don't know if y'all had home ec. I had home ec, and it taught me how to work a kitchen. It taught me all of that. I had a class that taught me how to manage funds. We had this. I don't, in my area, I don't see that enough. Do you think that's like vital to what we need?
Yes, it's definitely vital. And I think in my class, I teach those things. Anything they're going to need post high school, I can give them those experiences. But then all the students in my school are in my class. So that's where it becomes like a...
Right. And even with that, because you're a middle school teacher, I'm a middle school teacher, where do we start that? Where do we start that type of education?
So I'm struggling with the answer because so my school experience was good, but it wasn't full. And I went to a suburban school in what someone would call a very nice neighborhood and had access to so many things, right? But for me, school was simply school. I think there's a bridge that the family also needs to provide, right? And so I didn't want to go there, but for me, for school is only one part of a larger picture. And I kind of you got to have both. And so my children, they will live they'll go to a nice school by all accounts, but even that's not going to teach them enough. And so it's my job. And so I kind of use this model of you belong everywhere. And so when you are everywhere, you have to learn everything. So when this morning, he cracked an egg so we could cook breakfast. So, one egg equals for you. It's two of y'all, so we need 2 eggs, right? So learning is constant. Learning doesn't happen the time the bell rings. Learning, and it doesn't stop when you get off the bus. It's constant, and it's a whole thing. I think what is appreciated here is that a teacher is a guardrail and can help you apply that hooping, whatever you learned on the basketball court in the morning, to what is happening in their classroom. And I think that's the piece that we got to connect the dots. The curriculum is there to guide us, but then you add things, right? Curriculum cannot solve the world.
Yes.
That's why you have people.
Yeah.
That's where you say those teacher moves.
Yes.
Is you add the teacher moves to the curriculum. To address the question you ask about where do we begin, because you're middle school, well, I'm an elementary educator. So for me, I see it this way. It starts at elementary because middle schools and high schools inherit elementary issues.
That's good.
So if we tackle it at the elementary level, and let's start there. It's okay to teach a fifth grader or a fourth grader how to balance a checkbook. They may never even see a checkbook ever in their lives. But at the end of the day, it's the process, right? Because they need to know the process in order to survive, in order to create budgets. So why not start there? But I love the fact that you brought up the piece about their first teacher being the family and the home and mom. My issue and what I come across most days is that no one taught the home how to do it.
That's
so
right.
how can they pass that on to their scholars?
Yeah, it's difficult. There is no teacher to be a mom, right? I have a 4-year-old and an 18-month-old. Nobody said, here's the guidebook and here's what's going to happen. It's trial and error, and unfortunately, these are real people. And then when we mess up on, we give them to school, and the school's like, have to fix it. And if it's not fixed at kindergarten, elementary, middle, and let me tell you, once they graduate and they decide to go to college, it's still some work you have to do. So it doesn't stop. Learning is constant, and everyone is a teacher in your path.
I have a friend that says the school is the foundation to a community. Like the school is the foundation. How do we build that relationship? Because that's basically what we're getting to with those conversations we just had. What does that look like? The school community with the actual surrounding community. How does that relationship become
For
built?
me, right, as a community advocate, right, I think we have to build that relationship, right, because the parents in the community, if they don't feel like they can approach the school, then why would we expect the school in the community to actually have a relationship, right? So we have to create more opportunities that are welcoming in the community through the school systems, right? Meet them where they're at, right? So for me, it's all about bridging those relationships, getting with the principals, speaking to to the school boards, and really advocating for more opportunities for parents to actually have a voice. You hear that all the time, right? At these,
it's true,
right? There's a parent in that stand saying, well, we want to see this, and we're not getting this information. So obviously, there's a disconnect there, right? And we know we've built this institution in our community to be a hub, right? Because I'm entrusting you with my child. Some of these schools are seeing our kids more than we are.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I'm always, in the background saying, yeah, we're putting a lot of attention on these children, but we got to also think about the education going back into these parents, because we cannot hold these kids accountable. You can't hold the kids accountable. They're kids.
So I would be, can't let this moment pass. As an administrator, though, the school can't do it by itself. So you can't have a school system in the middle of a neighborhood and you don't have a hospital, you don't have a church, you don't have a grocery store. The community also has to fulfill the need of the community. Because if you look now at where schools are failing, if you look around, there's nothing left. So you can't give it to the school to fix. School systems have the same money that comes from somebody's taxes. So there's not an opportunity for a school to be the only solving. And I think that that's part of the problem, that the weight is being left on the principal or the teacher when it's an entire community's job. It just is. And then when you add in, I can choose to go to a different school, I can get on a bus. What are you leaving in that neighborhood?
Exactly.
Right? Nothing. So you can't. So if the school is really the hub, what else is in the hub? Right? If you think about the nucleus, there's a middle, and then there's things that go out and around. But if the school's just there and there's nowhere to go, there's no daycares, there's no churches, there's no hospitals, there's no jobs, then what do you think you're gonna get?
Right.
Because back to experience. So what are some of the things you would like to experience from, let's say, your community when it comes to your education?
For me, at least, like when it comes to like experience, I have to like see it to understand it. Like I'm a visual learner, so I don't. If someone just tells me you can go like look it up on the internet, or you can just go look. I have to go see it. I have to like be shown it, feel it, like see. Like it's just more of a personal experience, I think. So like going up, if I wanted to go learn how to cook, I can go up to the restaurant and then go find out how to cook from the chef himself.
That's good.
Instead of just looking it up.
And that, even with that, because I'm pretty sure you were a part of this, you went to school during a tragic time in America during COVID-19. So that even the little experiences that you were having were getting sucked away. So how do you feel that affected you?
So I went through COVID during my 6th grade year, so that was a big jump. I missed my first year of middle school. So that's almost like my freshman year now. That's my 6th grade year.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, I mean, 7th grade, obviously, but some people were already going back. I never went back to school. So I was literally like online the whole entire year, just on my laptop every day, waking up. Like, it was just a different experience. So like, I didn't even get like a field trip at the end of the year in 5th grade because of COVID.
That's right.
And then 6th grade, didn't do anything, so.
COVID's not over.
Yeah.
It's not.
Right.
We're living through it every day.
Yeah.
And so that she's in the 9th grade, right? But she will still see the remnants of that through the rest of her life.
Right. So we got into a lot of the problems. So let's keep it real and get into these solutions. What just some broad solutions that you think should be incorporated into our educational system for us to prosper?
The integration of parents and building that bridge, not just through a PTO, right? I'm talking about a real, designated program that is educating these parents, because we have schools, in different districts, different areas around, and some schools have more support than others. But if we have a unified, program that is welcoming parents to come through, I think we can start seeing that extended education, because again, we can't expect our school system to just fix the problem, right? So for me, it's always going to be about how do we bridge these parents to start getting more involved in their education.
So when we talk about whole child, I think we think about like what they're eating, what they're learning, but I think we need to talk about whole child in which how they're living. So we need to address their parents, the community that supports them, the community in which they live. Those organizations all need to be brought into the fold and understand the student. I also think we have to remember that one size does not fit all. And so address the student with the needs that they have with solutions that support them.
I think like every person needs to be a sub at one point, so you can see and experience what teachers are dealing with every day, and it might help you be a better parent. Like, I didn't know kids acted like this, so it makes you want to give more attention to your child when you're at home.
No, I said that with a straight face because we go through it, y'all.
What did you say? Sometimes I've heard people say, your kids curse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your kids
Your
curse.
kids curse.
They curse me
Which
out.
camera? Your kids curse. Your kids curse.
What about you?
So bringing it home and saying putting together what everyone has stated, but the school not only has to see itself not as just centered or a piece of a community, but a part of the community.
That's right.
So as a principal, it is my job to reach out to the community and pull them in and let them know this is a partnership. I cannot do this without you. I need you. My parent involvement. If I were able to get 85% parent involvement in any school, there's no stopping us what we can do, because the parents feel a part. They know what's going on in the school, and then they can be the advocates.
Oh, that's part.
That's
The
it.
advocate.
They will be the advocates. Parents need to understand their power. They have so much power that can change and move an education system.
What I have learned is that some people or cultures feel as though the school is like it. So like I can't challenge the school, right? So I'm sending my child to the best place because it's not me. How does that work when a parent feels like you're it? They're not challenging you. They're laying it on you like you are the solution. How do you help them?
Well, that's when we have those conversations and I let them know this is not a silo. We are not just sitting here to take care of the scholars' needs. I only have them 7.75 hours out of the day. You have them the rest of the time. So in order for us to make real change, we have to partner. And not only that, but when the scholars know that there's a partnership between the school and their parents, change happens. It really does happen. So that's how I address it. And then motivating the scholars, because they have to do the work. We can't do it for them. We can't want it for them more than they want it for themselves. But how do you do that? You first have to show them that you care.
That's right.
Because scholars will not do for you. And it's the truth. They will not work for anyone that they don't feel cares about them.
That's right.
Yeah.
They have to know how much you care, no matter what you say. When you walk on that campus, they have to know,
Man,
she cares about me.
yeah, you touched on something that's crazy, because the scholars today are completely different than when we came up.
Yes.
Right? There was they can smell right off the bat.
Yes.
If you ain't real,
They can pick it
Yeah.
up. They
I'm
know.
not- yeah.
That's
right?
another thing I tell new teachers is that not to refer the students to like animals, but they're like dogs. They can sense fear. So if they can sense that fear or any form of intimidation, they gon' they're going to pounce. So you have to be willing to build those relationships and go above and beyond to want to get to know them. Ask them their name. Ask them how their day was. I teach my kids common social skills. When I say good morning, you say good morning back. But some of these kids aren't getting that at home. So, like, it does turn into me turning into a 24-hour teacher and mom. Because my students will text me at home. And I'm like, y'all, I can only do so much in a day. I just love you. So they don't, a lot of them don't get the attention. So they come to school craving the attention.
Actually.
But I also want to, that's why I pointed out, sometimes it's not that the parent won't, it's that they can't or they don't think that they need to, because the sense that they have with school is that it's the
Take
place
care
to
of my
send
child.
them.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it goes back to that parental involvement and teaching them that it's a partnership, not just, I'm not here doing this by myself. I need you too, and let me help you help me.
Yeah. I mean, just imagine, there's an orientation every school year, right? Imagine an orientation for just the parents
That's good.
that are just going to be focused on the basics, right?
That's good.
Understanding where we come in and where you come in and setting that tone at the beginning of the school year, right? That's when, for me as a parent, I'm gonna be like, oh, okay. So I can call, I
Right.
can come in.
That's right.
I am okay to visit the campus, right? Because I think you're right. Parents have this perspective of like, well, I'm working my ass off to send you to this best school, and this school got all the solutions. That's why we're going to take an extra loan out and do all these other things, because we got to get to that school. But even that school still needs that parent's involvement. And that's what I'm hearing here, is that we all understand, like, it has to be a dual thing.
I set up a Google number just for that, because I also had a lot of parents that they work during the day. So they're like, I can't come in for a parent conference from this time to this time because I'm working 3 jobs. So how can I talk to you when you're at work all day and I'm at work all day? So I set up a Google number, but you can only text me from this time to 7 p.m. But just to give them that extra access to me. But I don't have to do that. But I
That's
want
right.
my kids to succeed. I want them to be successful.
Well, when you said, how do you solve, like what is happening? There are schools, right, that are using some of these things to help move the ball down the field, right? So they are saying, parents, you must sign a contract to say you will be involved. And I'm not saying that's the solution, but it's going to get us a little further than it's going to help. And I think at least we try, right, to understand that we're in this together. And I think that that's what we need. We need more ways to like try it. And let and fail forward instead of saying do it this way and that's it. Like, let's fail forward. What would happen if you told a parent, let's work together and you have to sign this contract?
What do you want to see? What do you want from your
So I
education?
think a simpler thing, I mean, just for older kids, just adding a class to where you can find out like what I need to do in life to succeed, I guess. Because I mean, you could take a class, but some kids don't even know what they want to do. Like,
That's right.
So it's like we need somebody to guide us, kind of like
And
expose us to what we want to do. And then I really agree with what you said when you have to pull somebody else. Because, I mean, just like an assembly or something would just help kids like figure out what we want. And then we can definitely sense fear. I had teachers who just like let us like kind of walk over them. I feel bad. I'm like, dang, you just kind of let us. Like, it was like from this first day of school, like kids are just like kind of hopping on them. And then other teachers, like, she'll literally like make us say good morning. If we don't say it back, she's like, good morning. Like, are you going to say it back? And then she said that from the jump. So it's like, if you don't set that from that expectation, then it's going to be a whole different. Like, my dad even went to the orientation, and he was like, yeah, I can definitely tell who, like, sets the ground rules and who doesn't.
That's right.
How important is technology in it? Because all I had was the big Apple computer, the big Mac computer.
That's it. I didn't have that.
Oregon Trail. See, I had Oregon Trail and all this. You don't even know what Oregon Trail is like.
No. Oh, wait, is it that game?
Yes.
We played that before.
See, look, they trying to
It was
expose
vintage.
I was about to say that.
Vintage.
Yeah. We had to be outside.
Yeah. So how is
Locked
technology in education for you?
I mean, it's everywhere. That's the only thing we use. I mean, we have our Chromebooks, and that's like kids' backpacks are super flat. Like, it's just their Chromebook, a pencil, and I mean, you don't even need a pencil. You just need your Chromebook.
I go through that
Wow.
every day, and I have to realize for myself, they don't use pencils anymore. So they come to my classroom, take all my pencils in, my pencil's gone, and then the next day, Coach, can I have a pencil? I don't have no pencil for you because y'all stealing all my pencils. But then I started transitioning, and now I put everything on the iPad. Everything's on the iPad, and it's simpler for them. I see a growth in my work change
Right.
when I'm catering to them. So that is a big thing. Cater to your students.
Yes, we've already talked about all this because it's all about individualization. I can't say that word, so I'm not gonna say it. It's about making sure you meet the student.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking pencils work for you, so you're trying to give them pencils. Give them what they need. It's not about you.
It's not about me. It's
But it
not
also
about me.
becomes like the hardest part of my job because I have to cater to, I have 106 kids. So I have to learn 106 personalities. How do I cater to you and you and you and you? So if you want to be a good teacher, it becomes tiring sometimes because I go home and I'm so overstimulated from trying to cater to every single one of my students because I want to give them the best of me because I want them to have the best education. But then I'm like, ooh, child. It's a lot because my head is like pounding at the end of the day. And then you can attest, it's like so many things going on around me in my classroom. You talking, you over here, you need my attention, you got boyfriend drama, you crying, you didn't eat breakfast. Everybody pause, hold on. I can help everybody in 10 seconds. Let me drink my coffee. Okay? And then we're gonna solve all these problems. So even before I can get to my lesson sometimes, I've already solved 30 other issues.
That's right.
And I haven't even taught anything yet. I'm like, hold on. She come to the door crying. Why are you crying, baby? So it's just, teachers are always moving and thinking and focused and overstimulated and trying to figure it all out in 50 minutes.
Yeah.
What do the people on the ground level need?
Money.
Coffee and money.
Coffee and money. Coffee and money. Yeah.
Salary.
Yeah. Like, I love what I do. I will do it. I ain't gonna say for free.
Please
I
don't.
was gone.
I'm not gonna say for free, but I do what I do right now for what I make, and I love it. But for what I do, I need some back end or something. I need it to come back to me.
And I put a lot of money into my classroom.
Because you get to see it, like you said earlier. You see kids and how they go and treat some of these teachers, which they should be better teachers. But you see how they treat them, and it's like, I don't want to be a teacher. I'm pretty sure that's what goes on.
I mean, different teachers. I mean, you have to have a relationship, I think, out of the classroom, not just in your classroom. Because I have teachers who will come up to me in the hallways and be like, when's your next track meet? Or like, when are you going to practice? Like, they will, some teachers have us write our sports so they can come to our games. Like, they want to know about us. And you could tell the teachers that actually care and the ones who just want to kind of teach and get it over with and go home.
So from this conversation, I think we can take away two things, and we can level them from what's missing and what's the solution. So one thing I think that we can all boil down to with this conversation is that community involvement is the start. That's what I'm getting away from it. And then on the plus side is that these kids are still kids.
They're going to be all right.
Kids. And they're, like you said, they're going to be all right. We just have to give them the avenues to access it. We all in agreement?
Yeah.
Exposure, experience. Those are the two E's that I was hearing a lot today. So
Yes.
I think with that being said, we had a good conversation.
I like it. It was good.
Yeah, no, that was great. And thank you for hosting it.
No problem, no problem. So from the Teachers Lounge, we're here to have these conversations so we can create change. See y'all later.